p.m. I'm going to call the council to order. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Mel Walden is going to have our prayer for us today.
Lord, we want to bow before you and thank you for the light that you've given us. Help us to share that light with everyone we see. And we thank you for answering before we ask. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. You may be seated. I want to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight, and thank you all for coming. I'm very excited to announce that our meetings are now going live, and they are being recorded. And Nathan is going to go ahead and take a few minutes to give us a brief rundown of how this is going to work.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to let y'all know, yes, like Mayor said, we are currently being live streamed. So what I would like from everyone is please make sure that your microphones stay on. You speak into the microphone. And that is because even though some of the audio will be picked up from other microphones, it will not be as clear as your own microphone. So as long as that happens, everyone will be able to hear you clearly at the house. And do y'all have any questions?
All right. Do you want to explain how people can view it online?
Yes. So we will have the live stream on YouTube, and then that will be embedded on our website on the front page. So people can go to our website directly. It will not be streamed to Facebook, so they do either go through YouTube or directly on our front page. They don't have to create an account or anything like that. YouTube is free, and the only reason to create an account is if you want to be notified about us going live. So you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you get notification when we do go live for meetings. So.
And if they're not watching it live, it's going to be archived under where our agendas are?
No, so they will still be able to go to our YouTube channel under the live section, and that will be all of our live videos from previous meetings on there. The only one that is separated right now is the Type B meeting. That was our first test where it was just recorded and then uploaded to YouTube. And then the Type A meeting was live streamed, and that was our first test, and then today is the second live stream.
Okay. Any questions for Nathan?
I have one question. I remember when the person that we requested to install the cameras was supposed to install the camera, one of the cameras up here. Did you run into some challenges? I'm aware there's one on this side.
So that would be the reason it was put on the side. So that's going to be the podium camera, and then the one behind me is a wide angle of the room itself. It would have looked very awkward to put it directly in front or above the seal. It would just not look good from picture-wise, but that is the sole purpose is for the podium itself.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Later on, if council decides to fund other cameras, then they can be put on either side of the room, which will then, you end up breaking up the video like halfway in the room on each side, so.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Nathan?
I do. Can you explain the cameras we have on the outside of the building?
Unfortunately, I would not be able to speak about that at this time.
Who can?
I mean, I can speak about it, but it's not part of the agenda, so I cannot
Okay.
speak about it.
We'll get it on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah. we need to get it on the agenda for a discussion.
And as far as that one, it would have to be in executive session since it's a security type topic. We would have to speak about it in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. All right, I just have a couple of announcements. Coming up October 29, we're going to have a dedication of the fire station to Ben Putnam. And Mr. Battle is going to talk about that some more in his report tonight. Don't forget, October 31st from 6 to 9 p.m. is our Starfest. It's going to be at the fire station and the police department complex on Hillcrest Street. On November 2nd, I'm going to be issuing a proclamation to declare this day as a celebration of Life Day in memory of Matt Davis. I'm going to be making that presentation to his family in a private ceremony at an undisclosed place and time. And then our Christmas market and tree lighting ceremony is coming up on December 10 from noon to 8. Everything is going great with it right now. I'm not sure how many vendors we have, but close to 30. So we are just really moving along, and we have another planning meeting next Tuesday, October 24th at 6 p.m. All right, at this time, Chief Warner would like to do a presentation. So I'm going to ask him to step forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and citizens. We had a bit of a presentation set up, and all my help left. That's the way it's been all day, but that's the way we live. I want to start out by saying that first, for those that are not aware, last week was Fire Prevention Week. That's a little bit of an antiquated concept because we do that all the time. But we concentrate on that during the month of October. As a fire department, we go out and we meet with the community, especially children, and we talk to them about fire safety, particularly fire safety in the home. So actually today, we were at Keene Adventist Elementary School. We had talked to 3 different groups of children. Thank you, sir. And during that time, they went on 2 different runs. So Chief Warner got up and took care of it along with Captain Metcalf. So as we were getting ready for this, here just seconds ago, not 1 but 2 medical calls came out, and we've got staff taking care of that. So thank you so much. So in preparation for this time of year, we look at, how can we do some community outreach? How can we get that message out, particularly to our children? And also, I thought about, we're going out to the schools. So I called Dr. Stevens and asked for his help, and he agreed. So as part of that, one of the things that we wanted to do tonight is we have a guest. If you would please, sir, come on up. This is the high school principal, Mr. Morgan. And he's going to be receiving some of our gifts, but as part of that, the deal is he's going to help give them out. So, if you will remember, not too very long ago, they started a football league under the school district. And we thought, it'd be really nice if during touchdowns, if they threw out some footballs to the crowd. And these happen to have a fire safety message on it from the city as well. So, you want to read that for them?
Yes. Looks like we're going to be tackling fire before it starts, practicing fire safety. I love that it has the Keene Fire Department logo on it.
Oh. Very nice.
So we have some for everybody here. There may not be enough, if we give them to the crowd, there may not be enough for the kids.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, sir.
I love it.
So we can give a few of these out, and then the rest are going to go for the football game. So we can give out like 5 or 6, but go right ahead, sir. Go right ahead.
And if you guys haven't been out to a game, we have 2 more left in the season. We'd love to see y'all out. We've got a game tomorrow night,
So he's saying there's a game tomorrow night.
and next Friday night is the last game of the season.
Next Friday night's the last game. Go out to the games, and when they make touchdowns, hopefully you get one of these.
I love it. Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 3, public comments. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and read what we have on our agenda. Since this is the first time that our live stream viewers have heard this, we have a new agenda format. It says each person in attendance who desires to speak to the City Council on an item not posted on the agenda shall speak during this section. A speaker card needs to be filled out and turned into the City Secretary prior to addressing the City Council. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. Please note that the City Council may only take action on items posted on the agenda. The Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the City Council from deliberating or taking action on an item not listed on the agenda. City Council may, however, receive your comments on the unlisted item, ask clarifying questions, respond with facts, and explain policy. Each person in attendance who desires to speak to the City Council on an item posted on the agenda shall speak when the item is called forward for consideration. So I have some cards in front of me here, and the first one I'm going to call forward is Ms. Cheryl Schramm.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council, City Manager, and City Secretary. It's great to be able to come up here and speak before you today. I want to give you a little report. Well, first I want to announce tonight that the 2024 Keene City Council Candidates Forum will be at 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, October 15, 2024. So get ready if you're running. I'm Cheryl Schramm. I live at 1002 West 4th Street in Keene. I'm also the president of the Keene Chamber of Commerce, which is at 110 South Old Betsy Road. I've given you a handout which shows it in ascending order the timetable for which we send out notifications of this, and it's been brought to my attention that there may be some information on social media saying that folks were not given adequate notice or notification in time to be able to participate. And I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Keene Chamber tonight about this. We did have a record attendance based on what we've had in years past. We worked very hard to get more people out this year. We put together flyers and distributed them 2 times. We got a lot of emails out. We made personal calls and things like that. And so I'm hoping that next year we'll even have better attendance. It will be a mayoral year. It will be a presidential election year, and people do tend to turn out better for that. So anyway, I just want to mention that we did make sure that all folks running in this race had a lot of time to be notified of this. We sent our first notice out 6 weeks and 2 days before the event took place. You have a timeline. You'll see that we posted signs in front of City Hall. We paid for that sign, didn't we, Mr. Knott? So that came out of our budget. We also made an announcement in the Cleburne Times Review. We sent in a request to the Keene Church for it to be posted. We took questions from folks. We asked for feedback from the mayor and the participants and some other folks. The city staff helped provide a flyer. And so all the candidates were given their first notice on Monday, September 4. I just want you to know that we consider it a privilege to be able to conduct this every year. We try to do it with plenty of time for all to be prepared and in attendance. So in some cases, the candidates were even given a personal visit to make sure that they had been given the information. We work on behalf of all of our members and the citizens to try to communicate in the community and to all folks at large to encourage participation in activities, communication, and events. And we really appreciate your willingness to serve our community, and we're honored to assist in any way. And we hope that we continue to have a good relationship with the city and with the council and continue this. This was our 7th year to do it. We had done it previously, but not continuously. And we would like to offer everybody an opportunity to participate, and the community to encourage them to come so they can see you guys in action. We try to give you 30 minutes ahead of time to do a meet and greet. Maybe next year we can get together and maybe have an additional event, meet and greet. We can talk about that and see if that helps too, to get turnout. I know it's just like with the National Night Out and everything else. We have the usual suspects that show up, but it is something that everybody could enjoy and benefit by. And so I really appreciate being able to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
I'm Charles Davis, and I think you'll remember me. Y'all probably weren't going to throw me out of here. But I just want to talk to the council about, I was born and raised here. My wife and I were born and raised in this community in Buell, and we went to church at Buell. We've always had respect for Keene, all the Keene people. I think they're wonderful. But we moved back, and we wanted to get water. So, but we had paid for a water meter years before. So when we moved back on 414, we wanted water, and we asked Keene if they could give us water. Sure, we can give you water. You can build a line from 317 to your house, and when you get it built, it's going to be ours. And so Arlene's Brothers was gracious enough to give us easement to run water, and so we've had Keene water for a while. But I want to apologize for the other night, my rudeness and crudeness. But I don't have a good education. But Keene has, they always wanted things out. They want things of the world outside, but they want it on their terms, and that will never happen. And they've got this stigma that I don't know what the problem is, because, you know, you can go to Venus, you can go to Cleveland, Joshua, you know, like that, and you mention Keene, and people just vapor lock. So I don't know what the problem is. I mean, there's no difference in denominations. You believe what you believe, I believe what I believe. I had the privilege of escorting a young lady in the Adventist church Sunday evening. That was the nicest people I ever seen. But it seemed like, I don't know what it is about Keene. I've tried to help Keene. I called QT and asked him if they could put a filling station here. They said, "Is Keene wet?" I said, "Yeah, when it rains." So he said, "Well, let me know how." I said, "It's on the agenda, so let me know how it comes out." I said, "I sure will." I said, "It failed. But you know, I'm a Baptist. But you know, when I go eat Mexican food, I enjoy a good frozen margarita. And I don't think it's a thing wrong with that." I just can't understand, you know, when I grew up here as a kid, I always thought it was so nice for a whole city to be Christians, you know. But we used to come to the council meetings. Well, go back a little further. After we got the water and we built the house and everything, well, Keene says, "Have we got a deal for you?" Said, "We're going to give you a 10-year tax abatement if you'll just come into the city." We said, "Oh, okay." And Arlene's mother lived up on the hill, 317. Her sister lived down there in the corner. We said, "Okay, we'll do that." So we signed the paper to volunteer to come into Keene. Well, we went to the tax office. They said they can't do that. They've got to give that to a business. They can't give it to an individual. Well, they draw the map up, and so we told them we didn't want to if they wasn't going to get a tax abatement. Well, that whole line of property from the highway to 317, they drew up a map, and it showed that on the map, that we was in the city. Well, then, so we started raising a little cane about it, and so the mayor and code enforcement officer and the 4B board or whatever, anyway. We had a closed-door meeting, and they said, Benz, you can't do that. We're going to call your place, we're going to classify it as an estate. Well, they when they took the 5,000 foot or 1,000 foot off of 67, they cut our place right half in two. My building's in the city, house is in the county, but it shows on the map that it's all in the city. And so it just upsets me to think that that is poor business for public people to run, you know. And I'm sure here the next day or two, I'm going to get a bill for taxes for Keene. And it's just upsetting to think that I've thought so much of this community to come back and settle in this community, and all the people we know is all gone and moved. So we're here, you know. So, and you got this 3-minute crap. You can just talk 3 minutes. I pay more than taxes in 3 minutes. I mean, you can't get your subject over in 3 minutes time. And so I don't know what the problem is, but it's really upsetting to me because me and my wife work like everything to keep our place decent. And down on the corner of 414, Orlean's sister lived there. Well, when they widened the highway, they left a third of an acre there on the corner. Well, my sister-in-law, this guy that you know real well that gives Keene the devil, he was selling gas leases. And so he wanted to come and met with Arlene and her sister about a gas lease. Well, somehow or another, we didn't sign the gas lease. Well, he said, I'll find out who has that property. So he did. He found out, and he bought it. Then he sold it to Shaw. He moves this crummy little old house in down there. It's not big enough for SER. Wasn't big enough for a SER system. So he goes to the state. I don't know who was supposed to be paying, but he went to the state and got a permit to put 2 little septic tanks and dig a 12 square foot hole. It's kind of like a French drain. So I don't know whether he's ever hooked up to water or not. But then my sister-in-law, she got to where she was in bad health and she moved to town. Well, there was that little corner, and then she couldn't sell her place because it was classified as industrial, but, you know, like our building's industrial. Mm-hmm. And we was concerned about that because our niece is going to handle our estate after that, and that's going to be hard for an individual to borrow money to buy a place like that. It's industrial, and it's residential. And then she sold her place, and this guy comes in and moves all this crap right there on the side of the highway. He's got 3 acres there, but he's built this big building, and he moved all this crap right in there, and it looks like the devil, and I'm ashamed to turn off on that street, on our road, and have to look at that kind of crap on the corner, and it's on account of that guy that's been giving y'all a bunch of hell. You know, he's the one that bought it. And I've tried to help Keene. The people that live on 414, you can't get out on 60, you couldn't get out on 67, just trucks and cars. And they've had some bad wrecks there and everything. And so I went to the state up here and asked them if they could put a turn lane in there at 414. And they said, well, can you get Keene to put in on it? I said, Keene don't have the money to do that. Well, I went to Fort Worth, and then I ended up calling Austin, and they got I got that turn lane put in at 414. Well, then you couldn't get out on the highway there, so I drew up the plans. Matter of fact, I've got the plans right here in my pocket of that red light intersection, And I went to Fort Worth, and it was I called up there, and this nice lady of color answered the phone, and she's over that stuff. Her name is Keene. Well, Keene, I'd like to talk to you about getting a red light put in at 414. She said, I said, I've drawn the plans up. She said, we'll have to draw our own plans up. I said, well, I'd like to be a part of it. She said, okay. So we went up there and we met with 5 people. Well, they kept dragging it around, and they said it's going to take a year to study it, and then it's going to take a year to get the equipment to do it. I said, I don't buy that, because I went and checked with the engineer, and it takes 3 months to put a light in. Well, I ended up calling about 10 people over that red light, and I went to Austin to visit with my nephew, and they gave me a call, and I said, I'm in Austin right now. I said, I'll be home in a day or two. It's okay. We came back, they were surveying for that red light. So if you really want to do something, you can do it. And y'all got ordinance, you know, that you haven't even passed. And I guess you just can't pass them. But I'll tell you what, if I was a code enforcement officer, they'd be lined up to move in Keene. It wouldn't be all this mess like on 67, and then the guy that had the buses parked down here in this big lot, well, he's moved all that crap over the hill now, and he's got it all right there. And, you know, it makes you sick to see your community that you love and care about just go to pot. And you go on towards Alvarado, which is in the Keene city limits. Over on the side of Stewart's Lumber Company, there's an old motor home out there, stacked out there with the blue tarp on it. You know, it's stuff like that y'all can do something about.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We appreciate you coming here tonight. Council, does anybody have any questions, anything they'd like to state to Mr. Davis? And thank him for coming.
Yes, sir. I have something to say to you.
I appreciate y'all listening to me, but, I mean, you know, when you got pride, you got pride. And if you don't, you don't have much going for you in my book. And you can drive around over Keene and stuff, it's codes right out there that you can enforce, and that's revenue for Keene, you know. But anyway, I wanted to apologize for my rudeness the other night, and I want to thank all of you, and I love all of you, and I appreciate you.
Apology accepted. We're doing the best we can up here. We all trying to make the best decisions that we can for this community. And we've got a great city manager to help us. So anytime you want to talk after a meeting, give me a call, let me know, or Mr. Batlow will make ourselves available to you.
Okay, and I
Thank you so much.
And I enjoy coming to the council meeting and seeing all of you.
Yeah, we enjoy seeing you too.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I have something right here.
You want to say something, Mr. Johnson?
I want to say something to you, sir. We'll have a code, you said they're over here on 67? Yes. There's a problem with something, we'll send the code enforcement, have them check it out. We'll talk to him about it tonight. Try to get a code enforcement over there. No, I understand that. Is it on the highway or near the highway, or is it? Okay, we'll have a code enforcement get down there and try to look at that for you, sir.
Mr. Davis, I would like to add that you got TxDOT to engineer a light for you and a turn lane. I've got a job for you. So.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Bud Finley, if you want to step forward.
Good evening, Council, Mayor.
Good evening. Good evening.
The last 48 hours have been some interesting things on social media, but I have some questions. If there's no response, I will submit them in writing and for the record to the city secretary by registered mail. Mayor Parrish, is it a fact that you are presently using, as I have been told, at least 5 different entities in Facebook without revealing to the mutual conversant of the conversation who you are and your elected position you hold during those conversations? Yes or no?
That is incorrect.
Okay. For what purpose would you have any unidentifiable entities on Facebook?
There would be no purpose.
Okay, all right. Mayor Parrish, were you aware in advance that Councilman Gutwa was placing a spy camera device to film employees without their knowledge or consent, yes or no?
Am I aware that he's placing one?
Were you aware of it in advance?
Yes, sir, I was.
In advance?
It was not a spy camera. It was just a camera to live stream our meetings, the same as we're doing today.
Okay. Mayor Parrish, did you request Councilman Gutwa to commit this intrusion into the city employee workspace while you were in executive session?
No, I did not.
Okay. Mayor Parrish, what was and are you aware of the purpose of such a recording?
The purpose of a recording is just to record the minutes of a meeting.
Okay. Mayor Parrish, did you view or discuss this recording with Councilman Gutwa before or after the secret recording was done, yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay. Mayor Parrish, did you or Councilman Gutwa discuss this effort with any supervisor or councilman before the secret video was put on Facebook by Mr. Roberts?
No, sir.
Okay. Mayor Parrish, did or have you or Councilman Gutwa made an appointment with the city manager to discuss what happened and what was done before the recording was done?
No, sir.
Okay. Did the city manager have prior knowledge of what Councilman Gutwa was intending to do with this secret recording, yes or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
So he was unaware?
Yes.
Okay. For what purposes?
Again, this is not a secret recording. This is the same recording that any person that attends this meeting can do. Any person here can live stream a meeting from their cell phone. This is a meeting open to the public.
Was it in this room?
Yes, it was in this room.
Where
This
were
is-
the employees?
This is not a secret meeting.
Where were the employees during this recording? They weren't in this room with you because you were in executive session?
Yes, sir, we were in executive session.
Okay, so it wasn't in this room and the recording was done in another room?
It's the same thing that's happening right now. We're live streaming this meeting. Even if we leave the room, this meeting, it's still going to be live streamed.
Okay, is this a political gotcha or was there a purpose for this?
There was no
To
purpose that I'm
record-
aware of.
To record employees here?
No, there was no
Okay.
purpose.
Councilman Gutwa,
Yes, sir.
did
And
you
Mr.
ask Mr.
Mr. Goa,
Roberts
you do not have
to
to answer any
publish?
questions, just so you know. I'm
What?
giving Mr. Finley the courtesy by answering questions today because I've been interrogated multiple times at these meetings. I'm going to just instruct Mr. Goa, if he doesn't want to answer your questions, he does not have to.
understand.
This is not an agenda item.
I understand.
We're not here to throw anybody under the bus.
We're here just to find out somewhat
But
what's
I've given you the
going on.
courtesy of answering these questions as
Thank
honestly
you.
as I can.
Thank you. For what purpose, Councilman Gutwa, did you ask Mr. Roberts to publish the recording in question before you talked with the city manager?
Did I do what?
Did you ask Mr. Roberts to publish this recording we're talking about in question before you talked with the city manager? Yes or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Councilman Gutma, what is, and did you consult the personnel policies of this city regarding any recordings in City Hall building and workspace environment before you recorded this? Did you check the personnel?
Okay. I just want to, for the record,
Go right ahead.
any recording, any citizen, I'm a private citizen when I'm recording, and I'm also a public citizen.
Okay, is that your answer?
I'm giving you an answer. So the recording is public. This is an open meeting recording.
Okay.
So it wasn't a secret. Anybody can record your audio, video. We are allowed that by the state.
Did the employees know you were recording them, Mr. Gatwin?
Like, look behind you. When they are recording that recording, so long as it's an open meeting here, once the gavel goes down, it's a meeting
Okay.
until the gavel goes down.
Back to the question, did you go to the personnel manual before you did this? That's present this time in this city hall for the conduction of recording devices.
The recording devices during a public meeting is allowed by the
So
Texas.
you didn't look at the personnel manual?
I'm aware of the personnel manual. Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on. Councilman Gutna, why was the original post of this recording in Facebook Keene Citizens only and as a post from Danny Roberts and not in Keene Residents Talk?
Okay, those groups are run by individuals.
I'm not understanding you, sir.
The groups are run by individuals.
Keene,
So,
why didn't you put it in, there's two major social media groups in town. We don't have a local newspaper.
yes, sir.
It was put in one and not the other, and someone gave it to Mr. Roberts to put into only Keene Citizens. Did you do that?
When somebody records a recording in this room, an open meeting, it's at the discretion of the person that is recording to be able to either make it available to everybody or to keep it by themselves. So anybody can request. If you want to see the footage, you can see the footage
Okay,
at my discretion. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Gutwa, is an admin and/or moderator by the name of Mrs. Gutwa in Keene Citizens Group? Does she act as a moderator or an admin in that group?
She's one of the admins.
Okay.
Are we almost finished, Mr. Finley?
We're almost done. Attendees this evening, those parties responsible and who are willing to put their name, I didn't see any names on the recording anywhere, to these action have done the following. Pulled a cheap political stunt and no other purpose than that. Impacted the work environment at City Hall workplace with stress on the employees. Impacted in negative a fun or secure daily operations environment, most likely with our employees, both internal office and external emergency services. Impacted enjoying who you work with and where you work. And most of all, trust by the employees to have some fun and be a human being at work. Councilman Gutwa and Mayor Parrish, if you've participated in these acts in any manner, in a deceitful or misleading manner, it has brought disgrace upon this city. And Mr. Roberts, if you are here or listening, would you like it if someone made it a project to go to Dillon Depot and record your conversations about these type of things and your interactions with these same elected officials? I think not. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. Our last person to speak is Mr. Troy Smith.
My name's Troy Smith, 310 Woodlawn, right here in Keene. That's not what I'm going to talk about, so we will stop it right where it's at. But I would like to bring up something that I found absolutely fantastic. I went to National Night Out a couple weeks back, and I got to tour the fire truck and the ambulance. I got the full, probably better than anybody else that was there that night. I went through everything. I got to experience what it was like to hold the jaws of life. Those things are heavy. You know, you tried it.
Yes, sir.
Those things are way heavy, but it is amazing how impeccable these tools are to not only be life-saving, but to be readily available for our fire department to use. So, one, I came up here at the podium because I wanted to give a huge shout out to Chief Warner for giving me that tour, giving me the sense of appreciation for what those men do and the things that they wear, you know, the gear that they wear and all that stuff. It was super incredible. And then some of the staff that was even around us that was helping, those guys were just amazing. So one, I actually did bring water, cold water, because I knew they were going to be here. And then, of course, now they're all gone. So there was cold water out there. There still is. So if anybody does want a cold water, they are there. But also, I wanted to do one more thing. During that tour that I took, as we walked around, I saw the old fan that he had brought into council about 6-8 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, and I know we are still trying to actively pursue donations for that. So I would encourage or challenge all of our council to help donate to that cause, as others have. And before I leave, I actually wanted to I don't remember the name of it. I wanted to make sure Chief Warner tells me right, so that way I don't mess it up. You mind explaining that one more time? Thanks, sir.
Thank you. The name of that particular tool is a positive pressure ventilation fan. It is used as a firefighting tactic. What that particular type of fan does is it creates a greater or a higher pressure inside of a house that is on fire. With that, as we create openings, we are able to create a cool pocket of air where the firefighters can get in and have some relative safety. They get better visibility. And also we are able to evacuate the superheated gases in a controlled manner using that particular tool. The one that we do have is gas-powered. It's got a motor on it. It is very loud, and it also produces carbon monoxide that we contend with as well. What we are looking at purchasing, and we came and did a presentation here one night. Same technology, except it's battery operated, and we're moving towards the Milwaukee platform for that as well. So, thank you, sir.
Do we have an update on how much has been raised for that fan?
So just because of the legalities, our celebration committee is taking those donations. So Miss Joyce, you here? Come on up. We're putting you on the spot tonight. So just as an estimate, how much money has been raised for that?
I have turned in about $450 to $500. It's on paper. I put it on paper. I don't remember it, but I can look it up. But it's around $500 that have been raised so far. And we have some good donors in this town that really believe in our activities. So we expect more very quick.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Appreciate it.
good deal.
Joyce, thank you.
Hold on, Chief.
Thank you.
Hold on 1 second on this deal.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it was me and you, but maybe we could start having like a cookout on Saturdays or Sundays, and what's left,
Right.
give to the fire department.
So
That would be a good idea, I would believe. It would help a lot.
The firefighters, particularly through the association, would be able to be there and participate in that. But we cannot go out and solicit funds like that because we are a paid department as part of the city. So we have to be very careful about some of those laws. But if anybody else wanted to do that and then donate the funds through the celebration committee, they can definitely do that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, not the fire department, people.
Yes, sir.
Public and maybe council, whoever.
It sure would be nice to at least get one of those for the brand-new fire engine that's coming, and I'm trying really, really, really hard to get it here in time for the Christmas parade. So hopefully that'll be the nice unveiling. It's very touch and go right now whether it will be here during that time frame or not. So hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed.
I'll
Thank
talk
you.
to a
That'd be
couple
great.
people and see what we can do, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 4, our reports. We're going to start with our city manager report. Mr. Bala?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple things, most of them are going to echo some of the things you gave in your report, Mayor. We want to start off with the Christmas market. We are up to 35 vendors. So I was
35?
35.
Great.
So this is a big deal. I was originally worried if we would get enough vendors to show up. Now we have so many vendors. Now we need people to show up. So, you know, if we do all of this and don't get a good showing, they're not going to come back. So recruit everybody you can. This will be very special for the city of Keene. Starfest, just a reminder that the setup will be on that Sunday, the 29th, and the roadway there will be closed. I have a little bit of an update on lucky number 7. So originally we got back that it had a higher iron content that we wanted to filter out. So the engineers ran the numbers, and as it sat there relatively dormant, the iron content increased, basically to the point where it would make filtering that well, we could be replacing filters all the time. So then they switched to plan B. They said, well, let's flush it out, which is what we've been doing. We posted that. We flushed that well out repeatedly, and it has brought the iron content back to a more acceptable level where it can be filtered. So that proved that they can engineer the filters now. I know this is a frustratingly slow process, but it's just got to go the proper steps. Of course, when it comes to public drinking water, we've got to do everything the right way. We've got to engineer it, etc. So we should be getting the final results on that test back, and then looking at a plan to move forward on that. So, Robert's Rules of Order, staff was asked to look into this regarding our council meeting, and I wasn't able to find the 1955 edition when we originally passed it as city council, but a long time ago, council had passed Robert's Rules of Order. So my suggestion would be, after the election and seats get settled, that we have a training session with a parliamentarian towards Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay.
The rededication of the fire department, that will be Sunday the 29th at 2 p.m. And then, did you have anything on the city website?
Just in case anybody needs to know, on our city's website, we do have current election information. If you scroll down just a little bit and you'll click on the picture that states City of Keene Election 2023 information here. Once you click on this picture, it'll take you to our election information page. And if you click on Notice of General Election, it will give you the dates, times, and locations for early voting and for our general election voting day on November 7th. And then if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to give me a call and I will help you.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Batlow?
Yeah, I got a question. You're saying there's 35 now coming?
35 already.
And how many days are we going to be over there?
We will be there Sunday.
1 day or 2 days, or how many days? 10?
Day, but we may be. I don't have the times.
But the question I have, if we're going to spend 1 day over there and have all these people to come in, do you think they're going to come back next year?
I don't know.
I guarantee you they not. I mean, I thought we had a 10-day thing going over there. We need to recheck that out and before it happens. and do a 10-day deal or something, because these people's not gonna come back. One day is not gonna be enough time for these people to come around. I don't know who's in charge of that, or,
We have a meeting October 24th at 6, so we can,
okay, yeah, because we need to figure it out how we gonna do it, because one day, I don't know what council feel like or Lisa feel like, but one day with 35, I would never come back again, because I'm gonna drive here for one day, and if they do good, one day they're gonna say,
This is the way a lot of cities do it, Mr. Johnson. This is the way a lot of cities do it. They just have it on one day or a weekend.
yeah,
They don't do it longevity because it takes a lot of work to set up and to come. And there's a lot of commitments that people have during the holiday month of December. So it's hard for them to commit longer than one day. So it's better to get people that can commit to at least coming one day, so.
yeah, but what I'm trying to say, one day of, coming here, I mean, you gotta think about it. If it was you, would you come back next year for one day?
Yeah, they don't just come to our city, they'll rotate around. So vendors will actually sign up for different cities and they'll go and do their different activities. So some of the vendors that we're getting are coming from other cities and they're doing their setup on them for another day. Right now, Venus is doing one on October 9th on a Saturday. And some of their vendors are gonna come here on October 10th.
Have we
I mean,
talked to
December
any of
10th.
them to see how long they,
And they'll come here for one day, yeah.
oh, okay, not a problem. Yeah, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe we need to think about it, and maybe a weekend or something then, instead of one day, where these
Yeah.
people will be, they'll be happy instead of,
This
Was
year,
it-
we decided to do it for one day, and then we'll look at it next year. If it does really well this year and it's very successful, we're going to learn from that experience, and then next year, we can make a different plan.
can we reach out to them though and ask them, will they stay 2 days instead of one?
We can find out when they come this year and ask them, yeah.
All
We
right,
can ask them. Do you have anything else, Mr. Batla?
that's it.
thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to 4B, Finance Director Report. Mr. Williams? How are you today, sir?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Good to see you.
Good evening. Good evening.
Tonight, I give you the September's 30th financial report. There's a caveat to that. We are still receiving September invoices, so I will not give you the year-to-date end of the year tonight. It'll be next month because we'll capture all the invoices for September as they continue to come in. First of all, some good news. As far as the revenues, on the property taxes, we came at 98.1%. Keep in mind, this is 16 months of a projection of what we may collect at the end of September. Most cities in Texas usually collect between 95 to 97%. We did at 98.1%, so I was off a little bit of 2% from that. So for the whole year, we did quite a bit, very good on that. I highlighted the sales tax, which is critical. We went over on the sales tax, and that's very good considering all the circumstances surrounding the sales tax for the city of Keene. So we was over on that amount. The other amount that I want to highlight is the miscellaneous revenues, which was the interest income. I want to stop there because thank you to Councilman Belts. He mentioned that Pinnacle Bank should be in competitive with other national financial institutions. We did that. We worked out a deal with Pinnacle. They doubled the interest. And kind of give you an idea, last year totals was a little over $60,000 for interest income. This year, $127,000. It doubled.
Wow.
So kind of let you know, thank you, council, for pushing me to follow through on that recommendation. And the final numbers for the revenue, as you can see, we came to 93.6%, which is still very good. There are some areas that we still need to work on, like the court portion, the franchise fees, and kind of touch on the franchise fees. Encore, because they're still under litigation and some issues with all the cities in the state of Texas. They have somewhat gave up a very small amount in comparison to what we used to get through the years. And as you know, it's still in the section down in Austin going through that ordeal from a couple years ago, as you know. Had they stayed in compliance, we would met that goal this year as well, but unfortunately, they did not send the substantial amount of money that they should. One other thing with the building permits, we're still working on that. Under the leadership of our Assistant City Manager, Don, he is pushing hard for next year. We are looking for great things for next year. A downturn has been because of the increased cost of everything, including housing, the supplies, people had lost jobs. All these are factored in because of the permits are low. Any questions on the revenue? On the expenditures, kind of go through that. As you can see, almost every department was right below the target, which is very, very good. And as you can see, the bottom line number, which is the key point in bold, we at 89%, which is 11% below our goal of expenses. You want to be on the low end, so that was very favorable. And as you can see, that's a good $500,000 difference that we saved as a cost savings. Not actual, it's a cost savings, there's a difference. So we done well on that. And as you know, we done a lot of things this year more than we have done in 5 years combined. We have increased salary, we have increased our benefits, we have purchased equipment of all kinds in all the departments. You have even increased morale, which is the key in retaining employees such as good as we are at City of Keene. And I want to thank you for that. So what all the department heads has done, led by all of us, is to make sure we have a conservative approach to the expenditures. Any questions? As you know, I'm not going to go through the sales tax. I kind of mentioned about that, but we're doing very, very good on that.
Hey, Charles, I meant to
Yes.
ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
About the animal control.
Yes, sir.
What are, I see you say, $36,935, and then 89.2, what does that mean? If you don't mind me asking that.
On code enforcement, the $36,935,
Right, yeah.
that's the actual amount that was spent for this year as of September 30th.
Yes, sir.
And the percentage is of the total amount, that's of the budget amount, which means that it fell under the amount target. That 89.2 means that they didn't spend at that 41,400. It was under, which means that is very, very good.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the question. And I mentioned about sales tax. And here's the property tax portion. Once again, we still met our goal, which is over the target. Any questions on property tax? Water sewer fund revenues. And real quickly, just to touch on that, the bottom line number is somewhat skewed. You see whether it said miscellaneous revenue, 257,807. That's the developer's agreement portion. Now, if you take that away from that, you can see that we are well short or right at the budget. So really, we have to include that because that's part of the revenue that is set aside. And we usually call those accrued revenues, which is deferred for future use. So we still have it, but we have to include it in our report because that's part of the water and sewer fund revenues. So we will and can use it if we need to. And those are restricted revenues, by the way. It's only used for that particular purpose. Sanitation billing, as you can see, we are over on that amount. Republic has done a great job in keeping track and sending us the amounts that we have used, and we have been over on that amount. So all in said, those are favorable numbers. Any questions? Thank you. This is the water fund revenue side. Those are the numbers that we have. Our Public Works Director, Derek Malone, has done a great job in trying to keep track. There have been a lot of things that they've been working on in 2023 and trying to stay as conservative as possible. He is projecting to do better things with the equipment that you have approved on this year's budget, which is a great thing. So you may see some numbers go down, some, but not all. Any questions? Here's the sewer fund side. Once again, the highlighted means that developer's agreement, that 257,807 is also included in that. And they've been working very, very hard, by the way, dealing with water breaks, sewer lines, infrastructure of that sort. And then last but not least, I've broken out on this report. I do it monthly instead of quarterly. I am obligated to do it quarterly, but I told you from day one that you would get it monthly from me instead of the 4 months. And here what we have for the month of September, year end. I got it broken out, and two of the things that is added to that is the PFFCO contract, which is include the fire engine and the fire truck for transparency purpose. You see that amount now of that 1.7 million. And then also you see the TDM COVID opera grant there, which is 1.2 million of that. Now what you do see also is a decrease in the pooled cash with all of those two amounts or accounts was housed in. So I had to pull that and put in their proper accounts. And as you can see, each time we get a new type of fund or account, we will put that up in the upper column to indicate what amounts in those accounts each month going forward for transparency purposes. Any questions on that? And then last but not least, any questions? And as I indicated down there, it will be the year-end amounts and the adjustment amounts will be recorded and noted in the November council session.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Williams?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
There was, I think the former mayor, Gary Enrique, did bring this up in the last budget session. The Hills Estates that's behind here in City Hall, there was a suggestion that we were supposed to give them something like a sewer line a little bit halfway and to go under the road. So does this sewer improvement funds that you are mentioning here, is it 270,000? Does this, let me see, the COVID funds? So is that project still going to be covered by the COVID fund, or is this something that we have to look into another way of funding it?
On the sewer portion of it?
Yes.
I can answer.
Okay.
What he was just saying.
We believe we are going to have enough money in there to get to that one.
Okay.
We're not sure yet. We have to do the two big priority projects, but making a pretty good amount of interest and
Yeah, that's good.
we've had some efficiencies already
Right.
in engineering, and so I think we're going to be able to get that to that one as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything you do for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we do not have any public hearings scheduled tonight, so we can skip over agenda item number 5. We're moving on to agenda item number 6. This is our consent agenda. Council, this is new for us, so I'm going to just speak to this. This is all items listed below have been previously discussed, require no deliberation, and are routine by the City Council, and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of the items unless you ask for that item to be withdrawn. So what we have on the agenda under consent is A, consider approval of City Council minutes dated October 5, 2023. B, consider approval of an ordinance prohibiting the use of engine compression brakes within the city limits. And C, consider a Type B EDC member resignation. All of this information has
Mayor-
been included in your packet.
I would like to pull out item B,
Okay.
and because I would like to have some discussion on that.
Okay, that'll be fine. Anybody else want to pull anything else out? Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask council for a motion then that is going to approve A and C under our consent agenda item number 6.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion needs to be for A and C.
Was it not for A and C?
All right.
I think
I'll make that.
I think he just needs to approve the consent agenda, and it's automatically going to be A and C, because I've already said that we're pulling out B.
Okay,
It's just like it reads underneath where it says, I
So he
make a
doesn't have to
motion
list the items.
for the consent agenda.
on,
All he has to do is just say he's going to make a motion to approve or deny the consent agenda.
Okay.
Mayor, I would like to ask for on the minutes, and I know it's not supposed to be any discussion, but I would like, let me see.
Ms. Beeson, we can pull that out also.
We'd have to pull it out if you want to make a change, but that we can do that if you would like.
Well, I'll tell you why then. On the minutes for last council meeting, we named the nominations for the Economic Development Board. And I know they were put in the ordinance or whatever, but I feel like they needed to be listed on the minutes, because if anyone goes back to the minutes and say, okay, who were these nominations? They might not know about the ordinance that was also written up to go with this. So I just feel like that the names need to be on that minute.
So are they not the names are not listed there in the minutes then?
I'm sorry, they were listed in a resolution. The names are not listed on the minutes.
Mayor, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
we'll go ahead and, are they on there?
We can finish the motion for approving
Okay.
C. and
Let's
then
go
we
ahead
can
and
go
pull
into
out A
discussion
then,
on
and
the
we'll
rest.
do that one then in just a minute as well,
Sorry.
and review that. Okay, so at this time, Mr. Gu, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and make your motion. We're going to, at this point, just approve the consent agenda for item number C, 6C.
So do you want me to mention
Go ahead, and I
C,
guess
or-
just make a motion that, yeah, just acknowledge that we're going to just do C at this point.
Okay, I make a motion to approve, that's item C
For the consent agenda.
for the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda for just item C by Gutwa and a second by Foster. Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous, motion is carried. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and consider A, consider approval of city council minutes dated October 5, 2023. Okay, so you said the names are not listed on here. Okay, so you would just like the names added to it?
Yes, I'll make the motion to.
Okay, if you want to go ahead and do that, that's fine.
With the addition of the names on, added to number 7A.
Do we have a second? Second. Is there any further discussion on this motion? We have a motion on the floor to approve the city council minutes dated October 5, 2023, with the addition of the names of the candidates for the CAD board. This is a motion made by Beeson, sorry, I'm writing this down. Motion by Beeson and a second by Johnson. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand. It's unanimous, motion is carried. Okay, we're now moving on to agenda item number 6B, consider approval of an ordinance prohibiting the use of engine compression brakes within the city limits. Okay, what changes would you like to make?
Well, I just, I know sometimes we rule ourselves to death, but I just still am not convinced that our little town needs this, and I know probably a lot of little towns have it. And also, I would like to ask Chief Kidd, I know he's done some research and stuff on this, and if he could share the findings of his research.
Mayor, Council, when it comes to engine brakes, I ask you all to take into consideration, it's a quality of life for the community, for the noise control. There's also, you want to keep a good relationship with the commerce vehicles that are going through this city, and it's a safety function for the vehicles. So some drivers, they'll use it for less wear and tear on the vehicles, less brakes, and sometimes they forget about it. Sometimes they use it, especially when there's wet roads, so you want to take that in consideration. We did a small sample study, probably over the last 2 weeks, in different areas of 67 and 2280, and basically the information I got from when we went out there at different time frames is probably less than 5% of the trucks use it. Normally for steep hills is what they use it for, but on 67, there's probably about 5% of the trucks doing it. So that's something to take into consideration. So if there is an ordinance, and I think I read it in our proposed ordinance, as long as they can still use it as a safety feature, that definitely needs to be in there, and maybe a time frame, like from 10 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning, and that's what we've been thinking about. What other questions do you have?
Well, so even if we write tickets for this, how are we going to prove that it wasn't a safety use that they were using? How do you prove that?
It's kind of like similar to anything. When somebody's speeding for a safety reason, or they swerve to miss an animal or person for a safety reason, we have to take that in consideration. That's why you have to have your prosecutors, your judges, everybody on board with it, and then they have to be able to explain it to the officer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, council, any other discussion on this ordinance?
Just out of curiosity, did a citizen bring this to our attention?
A citizen had brought it to my attention a while back, yes.
Okay.
I've had several complaints of people that have been hearing the So, I'm sorry, you have a question? Go ahead, Mr. Schramm.
West Schramm, 1002 West 4th Street. So I grew up in the time driving a vehicle that had glass packs on my car. And the new Mustangs and Challengers and all of that, with the exhaust systems that they have, are much louder than a Jake brake on a truck. I've driven truck with Jake brakes, and it is a safety issue. And I never got to drive a two-stroke motorcycle. However, I drove 4 strokes, but the 2 strokes that are going down 67, and I don't know how fast they're going, but I would think they're probably doing 120 plus to get going as loud and as fast as they are. So if we're gonna do a Jake brake thing or an engine brake thing, why wouldn't we go even further or just forget about doing the engine brakes? Because these guys have to stop their vehicles, and I'd rather them be able to get stopped behind me when I'm pulled up to somewhere than run into the back of me. That's all I have to say.
And it's not just in the good old days that I hear loud pipes. A lot of diesels, pickups have that now, and even little 4-cylinder cars are trying to make a lot of racket. So I think we might be getting ourselves into stepping into a bucket we don't want to step into on this.
Just to read the ordinance, it just says an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Keene, Texas by adding subsection 3 to section 132.01C, noise of chapter 132 to prohibit the use of engine compression brakes in the city limits of the City of Keene, providing exception, providing a defense, providing for a penalty in the amount not to exceed $500, providing a non-waiver clause, a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. And that's what we have under consideration tonight.
I thought the exception down on 3C was kind of funny. You couldn't write tickets to a local, state, or federal government entity or vehicles owned by any school district. So, you know, I don't know. I just, that's
Gary's got something we want to talk about.
Oh, Mr. Heinrich? Former Mayor Heinrich?
Engine brakes are not necessarily noisy. It's only noisy if the mufflers are off the truck. You get that. So your ordinance here is just saying engine brakes are outlawed. That's not your problem. It's the noise. I've got a truck with an engine brake on it, and you'll never hear it. You won't know I'm using it because it's quiet. And most trucks today that have, most of them have engine brakes. And if they use them, you'll never hear them. But the guys that take their mufflers off their trucks and run 6-inch straight pipes, you'll probably hear them banging around a little bit. But so I think your ordinance needs to be rewritten. It should be about noise, not about engine brakes. Engine brakes don't have anything to do with the noise. It's the mufflers. That's my thoughts. You won't hear my truck. I can take you out and demonstrate it to you right now. It doesn't make any noise when the brake's on.
I hear it all the time, man, when you're going down the street.
Yeah.
All the time. I listen to you.
You better clean your ears out.
I would again say, I think I mentioned this before, that some people that are driving these trucks are not maintaining their trucks. I mean, they don't physically do it because they don't own the truck. So if we're going to be stopping trucks for noise, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but we're stopping people that are driving the trucks for our company. We're not giving the company a ticket. We're giving the person that is driving the truck a ticket who's not maintaining the truck. I mean, I'm not sure that's the right way of doing it, but I don't disagree. It's a noise issue, but again, it is a safety issue as well. So maybe we can rewrite it. Maybe we can table it at this point.
Hey, Chief, do you mind me asking you a question real quick? Come on up here. I want to see you, just see how good you are when I ask you this. Now, when we're pulling trucks over, maybe I'm not understanding this. If we don't have one that DPS like qualify for that position to pull them over, is that not true? We can't mess with them?
No, any law enforcement official can pull over a vehicle.
So anybody can then? Okay, that's what I wanted to ask.
That's it?
Thank you.
All you have?
Huh?
I-
Is that all you have?
That's all I have to ask.
I have a question for you.
You're doing a
Chief-
mighty
Chief
fine
Kidd?
job, Chief. You're doing a
Chief.
good job.
Chief,
Chief, I think
Chief, one more question.
he's got a question, sorry.
Do you see our officers pulling people over for this, for a noise? I mean, you got to be at the right place at the right time.
If there's complaints from our community, we're going to focus on that area.
Have you
So
heard of
there's-
any complaints
There's 3 or
yourself?
4 different ways we probably patrol it. So say you get a noise complaint from a certain area, a lot of times it'll be a certain truck, maybe a Mayflower moving truck keeps going through here at the same time doing the same thing.
Yep.
So we're probably not going to proactively do it, but if there's complaints, then we'll address it, if that makes sense.
As you stand here, do you remember hearing noise complaints for trucks?
I'm not on 67 enough. I did drive through there a lot to see where our residential areas are on 67, and we have a lot of residential on 2280, but we don't have the state law in Texas. Colorado has a state law where it bans engine brakes or Jake brakes for that, unless it's a new muffler type thing like we've been talking about. I've been with cities that have had this ordinance, but they had hills and everything they had to navigate. So if it was a quality of life issue for the community and there was actually people saying we're complaining all the time, they can still complain or file complaints saying, hey, we hear this. We can do the noise ordinance and address it that way. We can go out there and if those trucks are doing it for non-safety reasons and they're creating an unreasonable amount of noise, we can still pull them over.
But are we currently getting those phone calls?
At my department, we're not. But we are getting a lot of phone calls about complaints, but not that one.
Okay, thank you.
So, anything else?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. You're doing a mighty fine job,
Mr. Davis?
my buddy.
Speaking of trucks, since they've redone 414 from up 67 to 3136, we have a whole lot more trucks on it. Well, the trucks don't bother me at all. I mean, Age Box Company is grandfathered over there with trucks on 414. But the city has put no truck signs at 317, 414, and they got one in our driveway. And while they was redoing the road, I went out and was talking to the guy, and he said, what's the deal on this sign here? That truck sign is blocking the 30 mile an hour plus the design that tells about the curve down there. And so, plus it kind of blocks our view coming out of our driveway. But anyway, I'd like you to address that, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
All right, council, it's up to you what you want to do with this. We can either make a motion to approve it, deny it, or we can table it if we would like to make any changes to this.
I think maybe we need to table it.
If we table it, just be aware that we have to bring it back within 6 months, so it will have to come back at that point.
Got a question?
Good. Mr. Smith?
I'm not sure who this, who is best to answer this question, but has anybody researched how much money it would cost to actually fund putting the signs up in the appropriate location, so then that way people do understand that, hey, there's an ordinance when you're coming into town? Because that's the end result, is you can't just put an ordinance together and then you bust people and there's no signage, no nothing, and then they go, well, I didn't know. So has anybody thought about that?
I believe that's part of
that
the
after-
plan. Once we pass this, it would be the plan to put the signs up, yeah.
Okay. Do we have a cost associated with that, so that way we understand where
I don't
we're?
know.
We don't have cost with that.
Okay, okay, just check.
Well, I think that then this ordinance is not what we really need. We need to go back and look at our noise ordinance that we already have. And maybe we need to add something to the noise ordinance.
In light of that, I'll just make a motion to deny consent agenda item B.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to deny approval of an ordinance prohibiting the use of engine compression brakes within the city limits by Foster, and a second by Bells. Any further question on this motion? All in favor of denying it, raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion is carried, 5-1. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 7. Discuss and give direction, staff direction evaluating and creating a year-end general fund balance policy, and depositing into the infrastructure fund 40% of the identified surplus general funds balance exceeding the adopted year budgeted general funds expenditure in the following category and percentage. Boy, that was a mouthful. All right, Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have presented in your packet a policy in regards to the general fund balance policy that Councilman Gutwa has requested. This policy is very similar to all the policies of all the cities in the state of Texas. What it entails, very quickly, if you can look at it, is to make sure all the different, and it's 5 different fund balances. And I'm not going to go through the entirety of it, but kind of give you an idea. One of them is called the unassigned fund balance, which is number 5. Is indicated that it's the residual classification of the general fund and includes all amounts not contained in other classification. Unassigned amounts are technically available for any purpose. It used to be called the unreserved fund balance. This is what we have right now in this new budget year. The unassigned fund balance is to be used for the purpose of the general fund. Keep in mind, we still under the Texas Code Law of Adopted Budget. In section 102.009, it states, after the adopted budget, it is to be understood that it's only used for emergency funds only, to amend it. Kind of give you an idea, after the budget was adopted on September 21st, I had to send this budget to our credit rating agencies to keep our debt taxes at a good level. I had to send it to the county, send it to the state. I even put it on the city website, and then all the other entities that affect City of Keene. If we make any change to this adopted budget, we have to almost go through the whole budget process again. We have to almost have the state to come in to review. It may have an impact to our debt service, taxes, which affect our taxes overall. So in essence, this unassigned means you can do that only during the budget process, which is between June and July. If you want to say, just very similar example was Councilman Belts mentioned during June and July that any amounts that we have saved over, we can move it toward the reserve fund. That's critical because I made note of that. So at September 30, we had X amount of funds left over. So with that being noted, during the budget process, and when you adopted a budget, part of that recommendation, which was great, I did that. I moved $150,000 to the reserves. We have a new adopted budget, which we really didn't spend anything on it. So you cannot make a recommendation to a newly adopted budget and saying move 40% or 30% allocated to a fund that we have not even put together during the budget process. If that was said during June and July, yes, we will make an avenue for that at the end of the year, not at the beginning. So, once again, in my 30 years, we have never done that before, so it's something that is unusual and very rare. But the law states you can only amend the adopted budget for emergency purpose only. And I want to make that very critical because I want to know what your direction as a council with this. Now, stated, even if you do that, I'm going to abide by the law. I'm going to share that with you. Not by.
We want you to abide by the law.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So let's move on beyond this because we can do this by time in June or July when that can come up. I totally agree putting into different funds, whatever the fund may be. But it's very critical. I cannot do that because the law does not entails me to do this.
Can we create a fund balance policy now that goes into effect next year?
Absolutely.
And we don't have to change anything on this budget cycle that you've already sent to all of those agencies that you're telling us about. I think that might be the direction that we're thinking of, is that you just said you transferred 150,000. What percentage was that from last year's fund balance that you just transferred into our money market account?
That 150 was about 10 to 11%.
10 to 11%, okay,
Yes,
because I
it's
don't have
not-
those figures in front of me of what our audit said. So where is the rest of that money going? It's just sitting in our general fund?
Well,
It's just rolling over into this year?
yes. Now, keep in mind, we have to keep a portion for emergencies.
Mm-hmm. I understand,
And
I understand.
That's about 20 to 25%.
Okay,
So in essence, we want to make sure we have enough because it could be a main water break, tower falls, tornadoes, hurricanes, anything that is unexpected. That's that emergency situation. So really, to move 30 or 40% into some other fund is, I never heard of that before.
yeah, we'll let Mr. Gutwa speak to that in a minute if he wants to, but I think what we're looking for, the direction is to create a fund balance policy so that you have direction, or any future finance director has direction to know that at the end of any fiscal year, whatever money's left over, you're going to follow that policy and automatically take 10, 11%, up to 40%, whatever this council decides,
Right.
and transfer it into the money market account, just so that we're all aware that that's what's taken place.
Absolutely,
I think that's what we're looking for.
absolutely.
We
Mr.
need to determine who you're talking about, we, because
talking about
you're not
this council.
including me in this.
I'm just talking about this council is going to make that.
Well, you may want to ask the rest of the council who we is, because I don't know if anybody else is interested in doing any of this.
About moving any money into the money market account?
You need to poll your people and see what they're wanting to do.
Well, at this point, this is just an item of discussion. We're not actually going to take any action tonight. We're just discussing the direction that we want.
Well, I'm going to take the reference from a man with 30 years of experience that says we need to move on.
Okay, Mr. Heinrich, did you want to speak?
Yeah, but
Sorry, you're being,
get out of the way first. Typically, we always just move that into a contingency fund. I think you're trying to muddy the water with this because you're taking general fund money and putting it in infrastructure fund. Infrastructure fund is what? Water and sewer? That's a no-no. You don't mix those two. I've been taught that for over 30 years, 33 now, when I became mayor in 1990. We did not mix general fund with infrastructure funds. And so what you need to do is roll your general fund into a contingency fund, which is what we use for the 90 days that the state likes us to have money on hand, rather than trying to muddy the waters with this. We've been doing the contingency fund all along, so we should have a surplus in it. which you show to us every month, right? Yeah. That's what I'd do with it. I wouldn't try to take general fund money and put it in infrastructure fund, unless the laws change.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Bua.
So the intent of this item here, in Texas, you can say, as you said, we could have requested back in July for this item. The intent is clear. We have been talking about, we will create some funds for maybe street maintenance or something like that to specifically go to streets or road maintenance or something like that, major projects. And I've been attending the meetings here for the last 6 years, and we keep saying that, and all of a sudden you'll hear that we just moved some funds to maybe reserves or something like that. But there's no policy that tells you at the end of the fiscal year, the budget, we need to move 10% of these funds, that's the surplus of whatever at the end of the year. Once everything is done, you have done all your calculations, and transfer those funds to an account. So there's no policy like that. So the best way is to be able to make things clear. I was trying to look around, I could not find any policy that controls that, whereby everybody, private citizens, city employees can go and say, okay, this at the end of the year, we are doing our budget, we have maybe 50,000 left. Now, how do we decide what to do with the $50,000 surplus that we have that we need to move somewhere? So if we have that $50,000, we can say, okay, let's take the 10% and put it towards, maybe move it to reserves, as you said, and take maybe 15%, move it to infrastructure funds. Most cities have like 3 different accounts, whereby this account will not be used to just buy material to just fix a small pothole or something like that, because what we are doing, that's a different line item that we normally do, which is normal for any city anyway. So the intent was not to take this budget here, money, and put it into, allocate it to different fund accounts, but to create a policy which from now forward, at the end of this fiscal year, we can say, okay, how much out of the 200 and maybe probably 59,000 that we had, that we are projecting to get at the end of the year, if nothing changes, how much of this can we start, distributing to different accounts and something that is in black and white? But it's not, the intent is not to take 2023 fiscal year to 2024 budget funds and put them towards different accounts. So we don't have that policy, but it's at your kind of judgment to decide which one to pull, which one to move, how much at this point.
Let me make that clear,
Yes.
Councilman Goodwin. I am here with the fiduciary responsibility to finance and keep track of the finances for the city of Keene. Let's go back to history. When I came here almost 5 years ago, the financial was in a mess.
That's true.
Okay? I mean, totally in a mess. There was issues from the very beginning. What I did was use my experience, expertise, and knowledge over the years in larger cities than this, and put all of that into a committed effort to make sure that City of Keene would get out of this financial nightmare into where we at now. We are in a good standing right now. And I feel good about where we had come from and the hurdles we had to jump over. Now, with that being said, we are at our best of the general fund balance to be estimated. Now, that's the key word. It's not actual. It's estimated at $259,000. We may have just a penny at the end of the year, of next year. Or we may have a little more. We don't know yet. These are estimated numbers. It's not actual. But with that being said, when we have the budget process, that's when that input will come in. Okay, let's allocate this to the street fund. Let's put a portion of that. Yes, I totally agree. We should have a street improvement fund. I totally agree. But it must be in decent and in order. I'm not going to change the law for anyone because it clearly states in section 009 of section 102 that we cannot move these funds unless it's for emergency only. Until the end of the year, then we can come back and review and assess. Now, we can also do it during the budget process, before the budget is adopted. So with that being said, we can do this, but we have to wait 6, 7 months later to get this done. We can get it done. It's just the fact we have to wait to the proper way of doing things, not in the beginning of the year, which is, you're talking about estimate numbers now. So unfortunately, and I'm at the council wish, but once again, I'm subject to the Texas law. And just like the former mayor just mentioned, we cannot commingle water sewer with general fund. That's why you see a general fund budget and you see a water sewer budget. Those are totally separate and have to keep it that way for our books and for the sake of auditors and other entities, the bond, everything that I send the reports out to. So with that being said, I'm at the wishes of the council.
Okay, I understand what you are describing to us. What we are trying to get to is to create a policy. At the end of the year, we might have $1 left in the account. That's okay. But we don't have the policy to help us to go through the process to distribute this $1 into different accounts to make it work. So can we be able to create a policy, whatever the council will agree on, whether it is 5%, 20%, 30%, that policy, at the end of the year, it's a general that will state that at the end of the year, once this physical year budget has been closed and we are getting into the new year, maybe 2024, 2025, now we'll be like, what do we have left from the previous, which is maybe probably this year? And then we can say now we have maybe $50,000 left. We projected for 259, but now we have 50,000 left. Now then we can figure out how much percentage you can distribute this $50,000 to these 3 different accounts using the policy that allows the city employees to transfer these funds to these different accounts.
Okay.
Which street infrastructure fund should be an option out of those 3. So at the moment, we don't have one. And that's the main intent of this. It's not to make, I'm aware you can't use what you have projected by the state law to spend it or to move it without amending the budget and going through a lot of paperwork and, So I'm just bringing this one to the council. I've been attending these meetings for a while, maybe not longer than our former mayor, Gary Hendrick, but I've seen us every year we'll say, okay, we might create an account, one of these days, move these funds. Another year comes up, we say the same thing. So why can't we create a policy that is based on percentage to create, so that at the end of the year, we can be able to determine what to move and where and how?
I have never put a percentage to any type of fund balance in my life, never. Because you never know what the estimate amount would be at the end of the year. If you put a number, a percentage, like you indicated, to that, what if we just had just $100 left, estimated? That's only, what, $1 or so? You don't put a percentage to that. What you do is come back during the budget process to see what we have at that particular time and see what amounts we can move forward with it according to the policy. And in this policy, you look at every city, it will have the same reading. It will not show a percentage because we do not know what it's going to be at that time when we go through the budget process the next year. You can't put a number to or a percentage to something that is not there yet. I never done it, but like I said, once again, this is council review and your direction.
We're coming up to the end of this fiscal year. We just completed at the end of September, and we're into October now. And you just told us that we're at the end of that fiscal year, last year's fiscal year,
Right.
which is fiscal year '23. We're not talking about '24. I think what Mr. Good was talking about is the last year. Can we create a policy, and when you tell us here in another month, when you said you're going to be doing our November statement, you're going to let us know what the final numbers for last fiscal year will be,
For the revenues and expenditures.
which
Yes,
will be
ma'am.
actual. It's not projected, it's not
Right.
proposed, it's going to be the actual.
Right.
Then he's wanting a policy to take that money and then decide what we're going to do with it. He
Well-
wants a policy to do the actual money, not the future projected.
Okay, on his consent agenda, it read that he was talking about 259,000 of the new year and taking 40% of that, which is 103 of this new year.
Okay.
That's not last year.
I can talk about that. I was supposed to actually adjust those figures to last year's budget, but I heard you mention you had already moved $150,000 to reserves. So I was giving you an example that if you were to do 40%, if we had a policy in place, we are at the end of 2023 fiscal year 2024, we'll do a 40% if the council had a policy in place, and we'll have 103,812. Of course, that's a projected amount, and we might get more than the 259,530, or we might get even less. We might end up with maybe $20,000 in the account. And then we have to decide how to move those funds three different accounts, the surplus, whatever it is, to those accounts. At the moment, we can't do that because we don't have the policy. I mean, you don't know how much you can transfer to either infrastructure fund, because we don't have the policy for it. So the council asked to look into asking the city staff to be able to help the city council to put together a policy to allow transferring the funds, whatever the surplus is, to those different accounts. It's just having the policy that allows us to move those so that every single year from maybe next year, we should be able to transfer some of the funds, whether it is $20, $10 to this account, infrastructure fund, and we can have a policy where everybody's on the same page. Otherwise, a few years from now, you might find, you might get that we are transferring some funds to other accounts, and then we are staffing one of the accounts, and there will be no need why our city manager is recommending that we have a street fund to be able to help with our projects that we are dealing with now. Thank you.
Okay.
Why do you need a policy when you do it in the budget phase anyway?
Yes.
Okay, the question.
Wait a minute. He's
Yes.
telling you that he is not going to set an amount, a percentage of anything. Is that correct?
That is correct.
See, he's telling you that. Are you not understanding that?
I understand.
No, you don't.
Okay. Okay, let me ask our city manager. You were saying we are supposed to have a fund for infrastructure.
I would like to start a street improvement fund.
Yes.
Somehow and find
So-
a funding mechanism for that.
Yes. And in most cities, they have that option whereby it's clearly defined in the policy. You can access it, the public can access it, to say we'll be transferring maybe 15% or 5% of the surplus to this specific account, so that every single year that account that we are creating should be able to have something that is going at the same time as we are transferring the funds to this other. It's a new thing to maybe to Keene or somehow to some cities, because the council normally decides, or the city staff will recommend we move these funds to this account. But because we don't have the policy, and with your idea that you want to create infrastructure fund, we will not be able to transfer these funds to that account. But if we have a policy, it's easier. Every single year we can be able to determine how much to transfer to those accounts.
But if you listen to what he said, he's not going to do that. So what we're doing here is wasting time. I mean, he told you what he wasn't going to do. So what are we sitting here talking about? All this, keep going.
Okay, we are creating a policy that states that at the end of the fiscal year, we are supposed to transfer a certain amount of money to an account.
No.
And I know it's something that maybe might be new to us, and that's why everybody's like, that's not okay. But I'm saying, if you have the surplus, how do you determine how much is going to go to the account? Do you just say $100,000 if you have $200,000?
Mr. Gutwa, I think what Mr. Williams is trying to tell us, that in our budget planning, we need to plan a line item for street repair. That needs, if I'm wrong, or is that right? And then every month, budget, just put in there an X number of dollars. And it'll be in the budget, and that amount every month, every quarter, whatever we set it up, he sets it up, it'll be in that fund for street repairs.
I understand that. You say X amount to go to a line item. I agree with you.
That's why we budget it.
Yes, but most cities have a policy to allow you to transfer the X amount to that line item. Otherwise, I understand, it's frustrating. You have, for example, how will you determine the X amount to an account? Sometimes you might be negative. Or if you are surplus, let's say you have $10 surplus, for example. So how do you determine where this $10 goes? Because we don't have a policy, it's the finance director will move it to whichever place they want to move it to.
And if you budget it,
Gary's got something he wants to say.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Heinrich.
Gary Heinrich, 803 Greenbrier. This is easily solved. The council has the authority to do this at the end of the budget year. You get all your expenses in, and you want a line item for streets? Is that what you're after?
Not
Mr.
a
Mayor?
line item, a separate fund account that would.
Yeah, okay.
Year after year.
Okay. But once you do that, you're gonna have a line item in the budget showing that excess money that you put away. All you have to do is figure out what you're gonna have left over, and the council has the authority to appropriate from the general fund the money for street repair out of the surplus. And you can do that every year. The council has the authority to do that. You don't need a policy to do it. Well, you could have a policy to do it, but when you say infrastructure, you gotta be careful how you do that, because you get in trouble mixing those funds. But out of the general fund is street repair. and you can say, we want 40% of this money to go into a fund for streets at some point. Because I think you want to save money up so we don't have a big bill when we got to borrow it. But you don't need to have a policy to do that. You can do that when the budget is finalized or your expenses and your budget from last year is finalized and you got $100,000. What do you project? Still a projection. 159,259. And you can say, we would like some of that money to go into street repair infrastructure or streets, building streets. So you guys waste more time arguing about stuff. All you need to do is just vote it. After the budget's finalized, you got your money, you know what it is. Just vote to put it in there. This council can do that. Takes a majority of you, though. Mercy.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Charles.
Okay, so did that cover items A and B? Did we kind of discuss those kind of coincidentally? Do we have any other questions about that? Can we create an agenda item then to go ahead and talk about whatever our surplus is going to be from this last fiscal year? And then we can make a determine how much we would like to then put toward a contingency fund or in a street fund? Is that what Mr. Williams was saying then? Instead of creating the policy for a percentage, we can just float it, so to speak, and wait until we find out what last fiscal year brings? I would say let's do that, and let's bring that back to council, because I'd like to see what last fiscal year ends up being and how we can take last year's money and put it into a street fund. Would that be agreeable with you, Mr. Guba? That we could do something like that then for the moment?
Yes, I can agree with that.
Because
And
we, yeah,
thank-
go ahead.
And thank you. The reason why I brought this item up, whether you don't want to, it's something that is frustrating, because the last 6 years, I've come to these council meetings and I've heard, oh, we'll move it, and we are here now. Now the city manager has a very good idea. The only way to keep this thing going is to have a way to help the future council members, the future city staff, to be able to be consistent, to keep this account going, because otherwise we are going to be staffing the infrastructure for a while. So it's not meant to probably make it harder for the finance director or the state laws or violating the state laws. So for now, I can say if you do that, I mean, I'll be okay with it, so long as there's something that can be able to help us, guide us to keep this fund account going.
Once we get the fund established and there's dollars in that actual fund, then through perpetuity, that question is going to come up. How much do you want to put in that fund at the end of the year? And that council will address that.
Okay.
But I will come back to council, though, for the establishment of a street
Yeah.
improvement fund.
Thank you, sir.
That's what I would like to see happen. Council, I don't know if you're aware, but every year when we have this pooled, this general fund and this surplus, we don't know what happens to it. You know what happens to it? It stays in our checking account. Nothing happens to it. We've not been doing anything with it. So as long as I've been serving on this council since 2018, we've not had any kind of policy or discussion on, at the end of each fiscal year, when we have leftover surplus money, what do we do with it? What do we do with it? Nothing. It stays in the checking account and it's rolled over. And Mr. Williams uses that as kind of, like he says, an emergency in a way. It's covering us during the next fiscal year, but we don't really know how much money that is. And I've asked for those totals over and over, and we've not been able to come to them. And Mr. Williams has told me at this point, we kind of don't know, and that money is mixed. We don't want it to be mixed, but that money that's sitting right now in the checking account where he's giving us this statement at the end of his finance report, it's got water sewer funds in it, it's also got general funds in it, and we don't know which account that money belongs to. We're not separating it. We have compiled it, and I've been asking for that to be separated now for a while. And I think that's why we're just trying to get to the point where we create a policy so that we can figure out a way to figure out what that money is and then separate it, put it somewhere into a contingency fund, a street fund, whatever fund you want to put it in, but just so we know how much it is and we're accountable to it, because right now we're not.
Our city manager has sit here and told us that he's going to work on this fund. If you guys don't run him off before next budget cycle, he's gonna do it.
Well, I'm asking for that, but I'm just letting you know, I'm clarifying why we're asking for the policy, because we've not had one, and we don't really know what's in that account, that checking account, because we just kind of keep throwing money in it. At the end of one year, that money from surplus stays in it, and then we start adding to it for the next fiscal year. We never get to an end where, like, it doesn't ever zero out. It can't zero out, because then we would be bankrupt. So it does have to have money in it, but we need to be accountable for what's in it and where it came from.
I understand.
So that's what I'm asking for, and I'm just clarifying that for you and for the citizens as to why this has been brought up. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to go ahead and read off that Agenda 7B was discuss and give staff direction regarding distribution of $103,812 from fiscal year 2023-2024 budget surplus funds of $259,530 into an infrastructure investment fund as outlined above. And at this time, we've given direction to staff to go ahead and look at putting on the budget to talk about a street fund discussion that we're going to have and to find out how much our last fiscal year is going to end with, and we can discuss what we want to do with that money going forward.
Who's giving directions to staff?
Are you not giving direction to staff? I thought that's what our discussion was.
He told us he's gonna do it.
I
Why do
know,
we need to give
that's the direction I'm
direction?
repeating.
Are you gonna do it?
I will come back to council.
Then that's all we need.
I'm repeating it for the record, sir. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8. We do not have an executive session. So now we are moving on to agenda item number 9, request for future items on the agenda.
I like to put on there for the animal control, the animal,
I'm sorry, repeat that?
I would like to put on there for the animal house, or whatever we call it, for the dogs.
Okay.
Talk about that, trying to figure out how we could get something going.
Dog
People
pound.
complaining a lot about us got animals and we're not doing nothing about it. We need to work something out or figure something out. I mean,
Go ahead, Mr. Balla.
I clarify that a position and the shelter, animal control officer and shelter, or?
the shelter, what we need to try to figure out. We got a part-time animal control still, correct? Is that correct? Okay, then that's what we need to do, because we got dogs running around this town, and I mean, it's ridiculous when people complain.
Councilman Johnson, we addressed that animal control issue maybe prior to your time, and the amount of money that it would cost to bring that building up to code is prohibitive.
I think it was about $250,000 at
Yes.
the time we looked at it and upgrading that building.
No, I understand that, but we need to work some way how we could get it, start saving money for something. I mean, people complaining about dogs. I see them up here by my house, and I sure don't like it. I mean, just running around, and we got nowhere to take them. Cleveland don't want them. Nobody wants them, so just let them have pups and fight somebody, and that's okay. I guess the city will look real good.
Well, the other part of that question is, what are you going to do with them after they've been in that building for 2 weeks? You're going to euthanize them? What are you going to do? I mean, that opens a can of worms that it's not just a matter of getting dogs off the street. Nobody around that I'm aware of is taking them. Oh, go ahead, Tabitha.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but if we would like to have further discussion, we need to add this for an agenda item. We
Let's do
Why I'm
that.
trying to shut it down.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, anything else, council, on the agenda that you would like?
I'd like for executive session to discuss the item we talked about with Nathan earlier.
Okay, the security, got that. Okay, anything else, council?
Okay.
I have one question for Nathan. On this recording, if we go into executive session, is the camera, do they still run while we're in executive session?
Go ahead, Nathan.
So the live stream itself will still be on. However, the camera will be, there'll be a picture that will say the executive session, and then the audio will be turned off in the room.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to talk about the same thing. And I don't know if it is okay, but I have to maybe make a short statement regarding the comment that was made, questions that were asked, that I was asked, to make it very clear. And I don't know if that's okay.
Go
No,
ahead,
sir,
Mr.
it's
Guo.
not
I don't
an
know what you're going to
agenda
say, so go ahead and say it.
No, it's regarding the same
If
recording.
it turns into an agenda item, then we'll,
If we need to discuss it further, we would have to make it agenda item.
No,
We discuss
discussion,
it
no
now.
discussion. It's my comment to, is the same,
It's along the same lines.
line
Comment will be a
that-
discussion.
that's not a discussion. I'm just trying to say, to clarify what I was asked here, and I was able to explain regarding the same thing that she asked about the question when we are in executive, does the cameras
Right
or
now
audio
is
roll?
for council to tell us what the future agenda items are to be, and not to clarify or
No, the question,
ask
like,
any other questions.
she asked a question about the cameras.
I apologize, but Mr. Nathan had earlier told us about the cameras, and I'm sorry I forgot to ask him at that time.
So, I mean, the same shoes. I mean, just to clarify to her to what I was asked about, and I was able to give one of the residents a response.
Well, I guess we should not have let Councilman
need to have an
Beeson
agenda item on
address
this.
that without putting it on the agenda. The item on the agenda now is future items to discuss. And that's it.
So what about the
When I put it on the
accusation?
agenda, we'll have to bring it back for next meeting.
About the accusation that
Yes.
was,
Yes.
Do you want it on the agenda? Then say you want it on the agenda.
we can have it on the agenda to
okay,
talk about.
I
but-
can make my
You
my
can't
personal
discuss
comment
it right.
after the meeting. I can just address it on my own.
You still don't understand, do you?
I understand. I can say I can make a
Then do
general
you want it on the
statement.
agenda?
It doesn't need to be on the agenda.
Okay, then we're done.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Okay, council, do you have anything else on the agenda? Okay, it is 8:07 PM, and meeting is adjourned.